cooking similar items from time to time, you'll be able to just revisit what you did successfully, and anybody can just press a button and go. I'm right now just making sure that our steam and everything is working as it should be. Right here is your power button. The oven does not need to be turned off at night. After it sits idle for 15 minutes, the screen will go to sleep. You will still have the LED lights on at all times inside of there. So if that's an issue, you'll want to turn it off. If that's not an issue, that's pulling like next to no power. So it's not an energy thing. It's just you want that extra light when people are potentially walking by or anything. The benefit of not turning it off is you don't have to go through the restart when you get in and start working with it. The restart's not necessarily long, but kitchens are typically always feeling like we're running behind anyways. So an extra 30 seconds can kind of be a pain. With regard to cleaning, we'll get into the actual, this is a self-cleaning oven. So we'll get into that later. With other maintenance, this door here really shouldn't need to be cleaned very often. This drip tray here, the purpose is any condensation that builds up here will drip into here, and so if you are getting condensation here, you might need to wipe that out a couple times, and it's just these two tabs here that come up and down. And then this drip tray just comes out. Both drip trays can go through a washing machine and dishwasher that you have. Okay. So no problem there. This is your probe for taking internal temperatures. So like if you're cooking chicken, for instance, chicken breasts, we'll look at how you would set that up so that it'll just stop the cooking process at 165 degrees or alert you. You want to keep this in the oven unless you're going to be using it. We'll talk about why if you're going to be using it on something, you want to take it out first before you put it into the food. So otherwise keep it in because you'll create a gap in your gasket, which then you can get leaks through here. So you can be running this thing at 500 degrees 24 hours a day. That's going to be fine. Okay. So 150 degrees. Just a standard 350 degree oven, 10 minutes. So this button up here at the top left, the set button. When you click on that, you'll see your top row is your time. Anything that you want to edit, just make sure that you're pressing on the thing and highlighting it. Okay. Hours, minutes, and seconds. Got it. And so to move it around, you slide here. If you're having trouble hitting it, like let's say I want to hit 30 seconds and I just keep it being at like 32, 27, I can plus and minus. For like the fine tuning. That'll come in helpful because a lot of people are like, they forget that fact. On your left hand side, or sorry, right hand side, if you're looking at is your probe. So this is that probe that we were just looking at. So if I want to go chicken breast, I know I need them to go to 165 degrees. I would just set it there, stick it in the largest breast that I'm sticking into the oven, and go. Here is your temperature. This is your oven temperature. For this side, we're not going to really talk about that. If you ever think that you're going to be doing like roast, that you're really worried about having that like perfect like end-to-end medium rare on it, this could be a helpful tool for that. It can also help with yield, but we won't muddy the waters too much with that right now. So this here on your left-hand side is your steam. So if we're at 100% here, this thing is now a steamer. So you can do steamed vegetables, rices, that type of stuff in there. 20 to 30% is going to help things retain a little bit more moisture. So if we're thinking about, again, like a chicken breast as an example, 30% moisture is going to help we can still go a high temperature, so I can be at 425 degrees to get color on my chicken breast, but it's going to help retain the moisture instead of drying it. On your right-hand side is extraction. So this is adding moisture in and or maintaining a moisture percentage. This is removing. So at 100%, this is an air fryer. So the example I always give, tater tots, if you've ever cooked tater tots in an oven, you know they release a ton of steam. And before the oven can start to crisp those tater tots, they have to dry out all that steam before there can be crisping being done. So now this removes the steam completely. So like what would typically be like 30 to 40 minutes in an oven will be like 9 minutes.
It would be a matter of
because
putting
it's
it
removing
in.
all that steam. As an air fryer. Playing around with your extraction can be done. There's kind of a lot of nuance involved with that. I would just think about this extraction primarily in this air fryer.
I don't see why you need it.
32.
If it was on a 208 volt system, yeah.
As we continue to talk, as you use the oven, we might start to find some other places where it's useful for you.
Sure.
But otherwise, right now, I would just think about it like that. So on either one, when you're at 0%, this is your standard convection oven.
Got it.
This is, we're not doing anything to add moisture in. We're not doing anything to take moisture away. And then we're just setting our fan speed. On your bottom are your fan speeds. 1 is your lowest fan speed. That is an incredibly low fan. 4 is your highest fan speed. It is an incredibly high fan, higher than any convection oven you've used in the past. So I would go, here's what I would say. 3, if you're doing something, the best example I can use is a pepperoni pizza, where before that cheese melts and it has time to kind of like make that pepperoni adhere, it can blow the pepperoni off the pizza. Also, a pizza is a good example where it's one thing that's sitting in the middle of the pan and the parchment paper is not covered on all corners, so it'll blow it up over, and then you'll get uneven browning if you've got that parchment paper blowing up over. So in those types
1 and 2 is your...
No, 1 and 2 is incredibly low. So like if you're looking to get browning on things, I would be at 3 or 4.
Okay.
Everyone is pretty much always operating in 3 and 4.
Alright.
And you're moving down to 3 only if you're worried about something getting blown around.
Oh, okay. When you were saying it, I was thinking you've never used that, so thank you.
350 degrees. I'll hit start with my fan speed of 3, and it's going to go through, start the preheating process. And once it's preheated, I would recommend never hitting this button, but we will do it just so we can move through. This is just skipping the preheat. Once it's preheated, it's going to give you this alert to let you know your handle can off. You put the food in, shut the door, and it will begin its process going for 10 minutes. I'm just going to simulate like we've gone through 10 minutes and we are in the final minutes of cooking. Same type of alert, letting us know that it's time to pull the item out. Now, we're just running that one time at 350 degrees for 10 minutes. But I'm just going to continue to use this generic chicken breast as an example. Let's say that I was cooking a chicken breast and I was testing that out, and I'm cooking chicken breast 3 times a week. I just know that is just like how we run things here. And so I want to be able to just have that as a quick and easy, we're going to be cooking chicken breast, so I just want to be able to come in and press a button. From there, I can say save, click on my 4 lines up here at the top, name it, chicken breast, and then I can click on my camera. You do not have to do this for it to be saved. You can see up here in your upper right hand corner is a cow, so these are all beef pictures. And you can scroll through and see all the different types of proteins. Come to the chicken, find a breast. I'll say that I want to save it. This is just saving it so that I can put it into my library. I click on one of these empty lines. So now it's saved in there. So now I can always just say programs, my programs, and that chicken breast will be there. And whether or not you've ever cooked it before, if they say we need to cook chicken breast, we've got them all on the trays in there. Can you please get those going? In place of putting a hood in. With this, especially if you're doing things with steam, or let's say you are cooking a bunch of ground beef off in here. And so it's going to be a high fat thing, you're doing it at a high temperature to get some nice color on it, so you might start to get some smoke. Be very careful about the way that this thing opens. Is as soon as I initiate the door handle, that's when this fan starts up. So you don't want to just, as soon as it's done, pull it wide open, because it's going to pull about 20% of that up into here and 80% of it out into here. So you want to do more of a kind, I'll say we make a safety handle that I think is unnecessary, but the concept is good, where it forces you to come up, and then it unlocks it, and then you have to come down again, and then it comes out. But on that first unlock, it cracks it a little bit. It is a safety handle to keep people from burning themselves with steam. So if you just act as though that's on there, and give it 2 to 3 seconds to start up and for that to start to vent its way out, then you'll have much better results for not having any of that come back at you or into the kitchen. With this whole idea, now, 2 things I'll say. One, I think you'll find so much benefit. I know it's a lot. I know it's more work on the front end to create these custom programs. I think you'll find a ton of benefit from doing it. But I'll show you this in case you just find it yourself in a situation where we just need this thing for today and tomorrow. We just need this thing running at 350 degrees, and we'll keep timers on the cell phone. You can come here, hit minus 1 time, and it'll be infinite. And so then and then you just set everything else just like we saw before, and it'll just be constantly running at that temperature. So. We'll look at a couple other things. Have it running infinite, where you can bring all those custom programs into it. That is good, but for right now, that's just like on a very basic level. This thing is running at 350 degrees.
So you could cook something overnight slowly.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up. So yes, you can totally cook something overnight slowly, but the great thing about this, and I'll show it to you, is thinking about it like a pork shoulder. Like we want to do something slow roasted. I use pork shoulder because I do it all the time. So I can say for the first 15 minutes of that cook, I'm going to do a very high temperature and a very high extraction, because this extraction is also, in addition to air frying, it's like searing something. Okay. So you'll get nice color on the outside at this full extraction and a high fan speed. And then I can come here and say for the next step of the process, I want to go until the internal temperature of that piece of meat is 200 degrees. I'm going to cook it at a super low temperature that is not that much above the internal temperature that I'm ultimately going for. I'm going to do super high steam percentage. It will maximize your yields like you won't believe, and a lower fan speed. And then I can actually say for my third step, I go here and hit minus 1 time, but since it's not the first step of my program, it'll turn this into a holding cabinet. So as soon as it reaches that 201 degrees, now it stops cooking it anymore, still the safe holding temperature. So you can literally take a pork shoulder, stick it on a pan, stick your probe in there, and it will do that high temperature, then it will do the braising up to 201 degrees, and then it's a holding cabinet. So it's not like that. You know how sometimes when you do an overnight cook of roast or something, how it can like get so tender that it's like almost mealy or kind of like mushy. It doesn't still have that like tooth to it when you pull it. This will help to avoid that from happening. So that 10 minutes at 350 degrees is perfect. But then when you cook it again, we're like, man, that could have used 2 more minutes. And then we cook it one more time, still could have used 2 more minutes. If we, in that program, click on that view modify, add the 2 minutes, save it again. We don't have to stick it on the line because we're editing something. And then if you want to create something that's like, we're also doing chicken thighs and we're cooking them at the exact same temperature with the exact same moisture, but we know that they're going to take 2 minutes less, and where you can duplicate that, just rename it. Save it, stick it there. So then you can start building things up. If it's something, again, that you're cooking on a very regular basis, while it's preheating, I can click on the save button. And then that's in my favorites. Again, just one fewer step to get to get you things faster. You're kind of finding out what you're going to be working with by the week, if even that. Yeah, by the week. So, before I go any further, are there any questions as we've gone through that first part? Okay. So as things are coming in, number one, you can always feel free to set it on my role. Auto cook is a bunch of different programs. So you can say, I want to bake something. We got in some frozen pastries. I want to bake. I want to bake some frozen pastries. They were croissants. It's going to ask me how big is it, how dark do I want it cooked, and then I just press start and it'll run everything for me. So there are
That's cool.
a ton of different things that you can kind of like look around at when something comes in. Like maybe you're thinking, you know, we just got again that chuck roast in. I want to braise some beef. Maybe some beef stew would be a good option. It's going to ask how thick do you have your pieces cut, and you start it. The one,
What section was that under?
so that is Chef UNOX, this one in the middle, and the auto cook. And then in that, once you hit auto cook, you'll have all these different cooking techniques. What I'll tell you works, like rices work great. Like you can just say, I'm doing rice, I'm doing basmati rice, do a 2-to-1 in a hotel pan, 2 parts water, 1 part rice. Stick it in there and it comes out really nice.
Do you cover it at all?
No, it does is it has 3 different options. This would be like your just straight up steaming option.
Mm-hmm.
This is just cooking at 350 degrees with a little bit of steam to help make sure that nothing's ever drying out.
Yeah.
And then this is that full extraction. This is air frying, or we would call it grilling.
Sure.
When you just choose, choose one of them.
Okay, so just a kind of standard preset.
When you just choose one of them, it's going to bring up 4 timers, so you can actually keep track of 4 things that are going on. You just start them, or you could have up to 1 probe diamond going at one time. This is great because you can have multiple options going at one time. The other option that you can have to have multiple items going at one time, and it's really just, you could always have multiple items going at one time. It just gives you the on-screen timer.
Got it.
To go with it, so you're not having to set things on your cell phone. I know with the size of the oven and probably the size of the cooking that you're doing, it's probably likely that you'll always be doing full loads of one thing.
Likely.
But I'll show this to you real briefly anyway. So,
Do you click multi-time?
Yeah,
Get there?
sorry.
Okay.
so multi-time, I'm creating a new multi-time right now. Just the same way as when I was creating a custom program, I'm setting everything except for my time, leaving it infinite. I'll just call this my test right now. Save it and stick it there. Exact same process as creating a new one. So now I would say multi-time, my multi-time, and start this. And then once it's started, it's going to bring up a list of 10 timers. And when I click on one of the timers, any of the custom programs that I created is available to me to select. So like if I was just going to cook 2 pans of roasted mushrooms and 2 pans of roasted broccoli, and I had custom programs set for each one, then I could come in here, get those both going. It's keeping both timers for me, or I can set a manual timer there. So it's really the same thing as that Ready Cook, except for that you can actually, with the Ready Cook, it's 3 set temperatures and 3 set humidity levels. This allows you to create your own, as well as have access to all of those different programs. Sausage and potatoes, and then it'll actually tell you what order to put them in, so that everything comes out of the exact same time. And then finally, so for your cleaning, and I don't see it here. Let me grab a bottle into this drawer.
Got it.
So the bottles will have a foil cap on top. You take the screw cap off. We'll have a foil cap. That foil cap stays on, and then you screw it in there, and that foil cap will puncture as you're screwing it, and the gravity fill in there. They're hazardous chemicals. You get some on your skin and wash real quick, you're gonna be fine. But also, this isn't designed so you're never coming in contact with us. Coffee ovens have like a pretty corrosive tablet that you have to touch the front of the oven. We're designed so that you don't have to do that. So that's how you load that. And then to clean it, you just come to rotor clean, click on the cycle that you want to run. Quick is the shortest cycle that you can run and still have detergent going out. Rinse is just throwing water around, you know,
I
kind
see.
of like
Yeah,
rinse
yeah.
something down or just soften up any of like the oil that might be on the walls. Quick will be your shortest one. Typically, I find with people that are doing regular use, you know, this is excluding obviously like someone who's roasting chickens all day long. It's like a super high fat product. Doing quicks and maybe like one long at the end of the week, depending on how the other looks, is good. You just select the cycle that you want to run, hit start.
How often do you